Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, where you probably didn't need the player card to know I was going to introduce the proud owner of a barracks in the middle of the map as Micro Jackson, ByuN, up against the best player from the United States of America, the Battle Mage. It's Astrea. A best of 3, Terran versus Protoss, between these two very different styles of players. ByuN's reckless and almost addictive aggression up against Astrea's calculated late-game compositions. A clash that I'm always excited to see. Astrea has established himself as one of the top Protoss micro players in the world, and even though sometimes that means it all comes crumbling down, at least it's entertaining while he does it. And if you think entertainment is something you find here, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? 1,249 likes on this cast, on this series, on this video. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully this clash is about to make it just a little bit better. I think it more comes down to ByuN here. Astrea has a lot of interesting strategies. I don't mean like crazy, I don't think that's gonna work, but like, Astrea plays the correct way to play Protoss, in my opinion. He does everything right. The problem is, sometimes he doesn't do it fast enough. It's almost impossible to control that mid to late game unit composition. But another Protoss we've seen do that against Nightmare. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Against ByuN is Nightmare, who's also that kind of surgical Protoss style. A lot of the time, Protoss players have relied on early Blink against Terran, occasionally Stargate. Astrea goes for a Sentry with a hallucinated Phoenix for scouting, as well as walling off the front. So right now, he's playing about as safe as possible, whereas ByuN is just gonna send it. He had double gas first, he got his tech out, the Proxy Reaper was already deflected with a shield battery in the main. Astrea knows ByuN is going to throw things at him, and he's looking to snap him out of the sky as soon as possible. The hallucinated Phoenix saw the medevac. He doesn't know for sure it's a Cyclone drop, but it's an incredibly likely possibility because he saw on the other side. What did he? Yeah, he saw a tech lab factory. Technically, you can still make Widow Mines out of it. Just a lot less likely. Why go through the effort? So far, Astrea, I do think the best way to beat ByuN is to let him get himself killed. He almost can't stop dropping the base. All right, and we're not talking about Skrillex's aging catalog, but instead ByuN's go-to strategy. And I think Astrea is really playing the player more than the matchup here. We've also seen Astrea play some unbelievably greedy Protoss versus Terran, taking 3-4 Nexi sometimes by 5 minutes. But here he is letting ByuN make the first move and focusing on getting the right composition to deal with it. And that means the battle so far has been mostly fought in the production tab, yes. As ByuN is going for the 3 racks, the starport with a reactor. Astrea sees all of it with the observer and is opting for charge as his first upgrade here. How many gates? Only 2. Astrea very light on the actual production. He's getting 2 more gates now. A Liberator is headed towards the north side. A very late Liberator, but sometimes that's the best one, as you're not really prepared for it. 5.5 minutes in, well past when there should have been any sort of early aggression. And there's not going to be Blink. There's no units in the main waiting for this. He actually gets the oh, so close. It boosts away just in time. And without Blink, he's going to split off 1 Stalker just in case. The Stalker walks almost as fast as the... Wait, does it walk fast? Is it fast enough? And don't come back! And the Observer has spotted the Liberator to the north. Astrea is able to completely shut down... and then a Reaper. Astrea is almost completely able to shut down the early aggression. It gets a pro. But the Immortal itself is given away here. Storm is the choice. This is such a they're both kind of jousting right now. As ByuN keeps poking and prodding, and he sees what Astrea has, while Astrea literally has observers pretty much everywhere relevant, right up until ByuN knocks it out of the sky. Astrea's taken his third nexus, ByuN building his third command center. The big danger and the big issue in Terran versus Protoss is how dangerous both armies can be to one another. You don't see kind of the back and forth you do in Terran versus Zerg nearly as much, because between the momentum of the Bio Ball and Terran in general, and the potential absolutely overwhelming splash damage of Protoss, you really need to make sure you're going to be winning the fight before you take it. Storm is 5 seconds out. And I think ByuN, Astrea, you see him setting up vision throughout the map right now. He doesn't, actually the map is pretty dark and full of Terrans. He's going to push out with the Stalkers. He's got scouting probes. I'm sure we'll see some Spylons out there momentarily. But I think Astrea is matching ByuN in his early army supply, which feels a little awkward as a Protoss, to be honest. You do have to cut some of your potential economy in order to make sure you just continually produce units. It's very easy to not forget, but delay warping in, which is essentially like not building out of your barracks. And that is a bit of a quirk to the Protoss warp gate mechanic that a lot of players don't, even at the top level, don't necessarily utilize? Don't use goodly. Yes. All right, we have an American player here. I can speak American. One of my best languages of two. Ghost Academy on the way. Vikings, rather. Hunting for the prism. I don't know if it was spotted, but it's almost implied. And here, oh, the Templar! He recalls the Templar. Gets him out of the prism. The prism's not going to make it. He was thinking about the storm drop, but Vikings know the prism is likely out there. And that Liberator has been waiting. The Liberator watches. Now Astrea moving in. He has Storm. One force field thrown out there. But a siege tank and a good bio split. So far, so good enough. The Liberator finally moves in. ByuN was waiting for some sort of aggression, but Astrea does end up losing 5 probes, which means ByuN is now at a 10-worker lead. That looks like some whole position across the map. But the poking and prodding back and forth. Astrea with a second robotics facility. Robo Bay on the way. Going up to the high ground. Gets a storm off. EMP lands, but he had enough energy to get another storm. But wait, there's more. A sentry. Vikings taken down. There's no Colossi to knock down. Might have to put him on the ground. And the Immortal going to be helping out a lot. 2 more Templar with full energy here. The fact that Astrea has kept these Templar together. In fact, ByuN landed an EMP, but one of the Templar was near full energy. An EMP technically only knocks out 100. So if you have over 175, that means you will still potentially get a storm. And now, after taking a relatively good fight, I'm not going to call it a great fight. I'm going to call it a relatively good fight. Because I just did. Stop. We're just going in circles now. But Astrea matches the units lost. He's able to drive back the army without losing a critical mass of his high-tech units. And now, with Colossi on the way, extended thermal lance halfway done. There's a couple Vikings on the field, but ByuN is not really incentivized to build too much anti-Colossus, though. Has he seen the... I think he's just predicting it. I do like the less medevac army. You see so many Terran players that end up with like 10, 12 medevacs for an army that really only needs half of it, and end up lacking in the starport units. Wow, look at all the units on the minimap. Look at... This should tell you how dangerous. When this Cold War goes hot, it's very important to have the upper hand. So between both players really pressing out for vision, I don't think I've seen a much better demonstration of how important it is to get that information out there. As so tense on both sides. Gravitic drive, warp prism speed on the way. And a Templar and the Prism. The real Battle Mage army is coming together. But, as they say, talk softly and carry a whole bunch of Psyblades. It looks like Astrea going to have so many charge slots he could easily split them off to try to keep ByuN busy on one flank, or just send him into the fray. 20 charge slots is almost a liability. Widowmine explosively scouts a Templar drop, but the War Prism is still intact. Astrea is able to move down here and zone ByuN out, who didn't have a planetary done. He will be able to lift and potentially move away. That is a lot of ghosts in the army composition right now. But, oh, the command center is not taken out, but one storm coming in from the southern flank, and the ghosts are softened up. A couple more will be taken down. The EMP is too little and too late as Astrea grinds his way through. +1 armor about to complete. That will give Astrea a slight upgrade advantage. Gonna target the base. It burns. It's dead. 4 Colossi. Vikings trying to match them, but the Stalkers will take it out. 2 Colossi down. He's down to 1. And now the Terran army can strike back. The EMPs across the board, forced to retreat. And Astrea might be biting off a little more than he can chew. It was a great fight, but he only killed the command center. The Widowmine gets the War Prism on the way out. Bookends that life. And now ByuN has a significant supply lead. And the worker there really isn't a worker deficit, as ByuN is at 76 to 75. He did lose the command center, though, which does give Astrea more efficient mining across the board. How many robotics facilities? Quad robo production. Astrea in a full wartime economy here, and has smoothly transitioned from low economy and medium production to all of everything. He's got TT Blink. He's got disruptors on the way. Working on 3-3. He's gonna try to zerg the Terran effectively. Invalidate ghosts with the purification novas. The charge lots at the back. But ByuN is always dangerous. Any amount of units, and ByuN is dangerous, let alone having medevacs at all. The Widowmines throughout the field. The charge lots will force ByuN back. Astrea's on 5 bases now. And recalls the charge lots. I love that move. Send ByuN potentially chasing something that isn't even there. Another charge lot to the north. 2-2 is now done for ByuN's Terran army. More Widowmines in production. Both players are nearly maxed out with enough economy to easily replace small groups of units. The disruptor count has grown dramatically. He's got half a dozen. And more in production. And if he could go above 200 supply, I'm sure he'd try for more. But for now, what is the army composition? We got 9 ghosts, 29 marauders, 30 marauders for ByuN, which are great enough against disruptors, but it all comes down to the timing. Charge lots into the 3rd. Charge lots at the natural, trying to catch ByuN off guard. The army start fighting here in the middle of the map. Going to be chased down. Fires off a volley. And the Marauders are forced back. Astrea keeping the pressure on. Grinds his way through. The engineering bay itself is vulnerable. Splits off a couple zealots. The bio ball is chasing. Triple shot. Knocks into the Marauders. +3 weapons is denied by the zealots. They break through the engineering bay at the front. And Astrea is biting off big pieces of both ByuN's infrastructure, his economy, and his army. And ByuN right now is scrambling. He's down 40 workers. The DT at the base, half his army is getting chased down by something immensely dangerous. Though he can turn and kill the Stalkers, but the Disruptors are deadly. So close to knocking him out, but Astrea does need to fight the army once. He needs to beat the army once, or at least grind it down. That is the most dangerous part, and the win condition here, as there are 25 Marauders. There's that 13 medevacs I was talking about. I think ByuN finally realized he's building Liberators. Astrea has another base to the north side. 7, 8, I can't even count that high. But Astrea has most of the bases on his side of the map, while ByuN is desperately trying to hold on to his 4th and his 3rd, and barely has enough workers for half of that. And the Marauders are just bashing through everything that doesn't have splash damage, but DT Blink comes to the back. The Widowmines crashing to the medevacs. Half the HP gone to the Widowmines, as there's no anti-air for Astrea, but the bio ball is barely touched by anything but disruptors. And it's just rolling through. Gets 1 robo. That's not a super pylon over there. He's not able to warp in quickly enough. The Widowmine's looking for more. The Blinkstalkers get one, get two of the medevacs, but he finds another base. Things continue to escalate. The Disruptor's on point, fires a broadside, clips a ghost. ByuN will regroup. He finished +3 armor. We got shield upgrades. The Widowmine to the south. It looks like it took... Oh, the medevacs are chased down. I don't know how many inside, but the supplies are about even. The army supply is still heavily in favor of ByuN. A minefield will continue taking big bites out of the Zealots, but Astrea can replace them. How many gateways? 12 gates. Still has 3 robos intact. It might be time to make some more immortals. There's a disruptor in that prism. There's no... Wait, what? For a second, it looks like it just run past. But another army out of the field. Both players scrambling to keep track of everything that's going on. And right now, Astrea has done just a slightly better job. The Disruptor will force ByuN away yet again. Another Widowmine is taken out. The minefield near Astrea's third is still intact, firing off the broadside, but the Disruptors chased out by the Marauders. Disruptor shots will land. Liberator just kind of lazily flying over the top will be taken out. Charge lots redirect. Blinkstalkers up to the north. Marauders retreating yet again. Oh, that Widowmine, the Widowmine field needs to be dealt with. It keeps getting kills. Astrea keeps bleeding out probes and zealots as he runs by it, but his army supply is still so damn high. He's got 74 probes. He's got those dozen gateways. The zealots are coming in. The medevacs are entirely out of energy and almost out of life. But another volley of Widowmines will turn this fight around yet again. And ByuN, finally, the Widowmines. Oh my god, he got the Observer. Oh, sweet, sweet baby Terran Jesus. Which is just Jesus. He got the Observer. The Widowmines will continue to their reign of terror. Oh, no. So this, Astrea somewhat forced to slow down here. He still has the initiative, though. He can still work his way through. He's got the worker count, even though he's been hamstrung by the mines across the board. Astrea has managed to keep the pressure on ByuN without overcommitting. The Disruptor shot to start things off, dangerous to Zealots and Terran alike. And another one curves into the center mass. The charge lock count is so damn high, staggering them out. The Widowmines will take a big bite. But ByuN cannot reinforce this army. He doesn't have the economy here. EMP is good, but you have to follow it up with something. And into the natural as well. A DT working on what economy is left. There's no minerals left there, so no real targets. EMP onto the DT, and the Ghost takes it out. But wait, there's more. Astrea still has the income. Only for a moment there did ByuN make it back, but he's running out of mineral patches he can mine easily. As only the outlying bases. Again, the Widowmine. Okay. But Astrea is at 200 supply, and I'm hard-pressed to see ByuN, even with his near-impeccable micro, chewing through the Zealots, but the Disruptors on the high ground. There's just so many of them. He might be able to take half of them out before the shots land. But it only takes one. Down goes another orbital. And the Zealots trying to force the Bio into a fight. Oh my god, point blank range. That's that. 2 Gs, 2 hits. Astrea battles through in game 1. He boxes ByuN out of essentially everything he wanted to do and holds it together. It was touch and go there for a bit, but the American Protoss clearly more comfortable as time goes on, and really just, it's very intimidating. Go up against a player who's known for being faster, harder, better, stronger than you. ByuN has over a decade of experience in pulling Protoss apart at the seams, but Astrea holds it together and goes off to a 1-0 lead, which begs the question of where will ByuN proxy his barracks in game number 2? Like, well, don't stereotype. Here on Oceanborn, it will also be in the center of the map. Because of course it will. The proxy barracks last game, it's mostly a mind game. It's not... Well, there are some proxy marauder plays that occasionally crop up, and concussive shell marauders can be absolutely devastating when unprepared for, but relatively easy to scout. And Astrea is not skimping on the early scouts here. He's going to know, by the severe lack of any barracks in the base, there is indeed a barrack somewhere. So, starting off, gets a zealot, gets his, he's not intimidated. There's a small chance it could have been a double barracks play, but he does see the factory building. And if he sees the factory building, it's not the marauders, as you simply can't afford both things and an orbital. So the scouting Reaper, and then the barracks heading back home for ByuN. Now, Reaper, quite annoying. Did he cancel the Zealot at the last set? Yeah. So Protoss have gotten in the habit of producing a Zealot out of the initial gateway, and then canceling it when it becomes clear there's not going to be an NG Bay block or maybe a bunker. So you get the full cost back as long as you cancel it by the time it finishes up. So just covering your bases, quite literally. Probe severely bothered that SCV, so much so the Reaper comes back and takes it out. So lets Astrea know. Again, it's going to be a 2-gate. Instead of any early tech, Astrea with a new sort of ultra defensive style. A lot of Protoss have kind of shied away from this. In my opinion, this is in my amateur observer opinion, because it gives map control to the Terran. If they figure it out, if they see the robo early on, then a lot of the time the Terran can just take a third or put together whichever timing. Last game, I think it worked out because ByuN was expecting an attack out of Astrea, but Astrea was just playing defense. Because usually a 2-base Protoss is lining up an attack. They're not just trying to set up a better army for later. We'll see. ByuN this time around, opting for the Widow Mine drop. All 4 inside there. There will be an observer, there will be stalkers, but no blink. We'll see if Astrea is able to anticipate it. Widow Mine drops, of course, certainly a dangerous option to contend with. Much more dangerous, I would say, than the Cyclone drop that ByuN occasionally throws in for reasons that will remain unknown to everyone, and I think including ByuN. It can take out Stargate units and such, but still, though. Well, here we go. Widow Mine number 1, come on down. It looks like Stalker's here to match in the main. Unfortunately, the gateways get in the way, and that means another Widow Mine will be able to burrow. Ah, yes, some Prairie Dog micro here. Does he get it in time? He does. Another mine. The sacrifices have been paid. Oh no, he loses 4. Yeah, one of them found an opportunity. The medevac will get out. The rest of the mines will be dealt with. And the mining time lost as well. Quite significant. It's going to be charged. Getting the medevac out is a pretty big win here for ByuN. When it's a bit costly. Building those mines and going for the economy early. Astrea dealt with it relatively quickly. But with that extra medevac, you've saved a whole lot of investment. Essentially, all your starport time for the first 5 minutes you've saved with that medevac. And that definitely helps with any follow-up pushes. The observer, oh my god. He boosts his medevac to hunt the observer. Astrea almost gets it away. Reaper finally taken out. Will ascend. Storm is the choice. ByuN with another drop loaded up. He's just using that. He has a medevac. He's gonna micro the medevac. All right. which is sometimes a liability for the Korean Terran, but... well, we'll see. There's not going to be Blink. There is, of course, Storm on the way, but not really something you want to deal with one medevac. Shield battery about to complete. So, very fortuitous timing there for Astrea. 4 Stalkers. The Marauders is concussive, but he shield battery overcharges. Does a bunch of damage to the medevac. ByuN will get out. This is some very aggressive scouting from ByuN as well. It's not just to get damage done, but you don't send in one medevac thinking it's going to end the game, unless it has Widow Mines in it. But you don't send in that one medevac because you think you're going to be able to kill everything. It's especially with no follow-up attack there. Also greedy, putting it on the... oh my god! Get 'em, boys! Everyone! Wow, that was a disproportionate response, but... ByuN actually building his command center on the low ground and immediately getting punished for it. I've always felt like your buildings can fly. Even getting it delayed, you save maybe 1 or 2 SCVs of production. Oh, pops the medevac with feedback. Haven't seen that in a while. Ever since feedback did have damage, but the double drop into the natural. And the Templar are not here to defend. Probes are being gunned down. He does have Templar in the Prism. The Storms are good. Not good enough to take him out, but Astrea mitigates the damage. I've always thought, though, that the 3rd command center on the low ground, you save maybe 2 SCVs of production. In time, you would be flying. So if you lose an SCV and get delayed for another SCV, which does not take much, as we saw, a single Zealot, then it feels like you've lost, you did not gain anything. So these greedy Terrans, and you don't gain much if the Storms land as well. 7 kills. And now Astrea with a 13 worker lead. He will recall. Oh, I love that. Astrea with a shift. Is he trying to go Stark? I mean, yes, he's going Stargate. Is this for carriers? He's getting +1 air, so he's already lining up like a late game tech switch here. The Widow Mines will attempt to burrow. Will succeed. He splits off a Zealot. ByuN has a lot of army supply right now to contend with. And another drop at the natural. He's tearing him apart. The blink is about to complete. Astrea just doesn't have that many units to go around right now. The charge lots into the natural. But the Templar in the Prism are really the only thing between Astrea and getting ground down here. ByuN up 30 supply. The Widow Mine drop, or Widow Mines in general. Templar, he manages to dodge it with at least the Templar there. But the Widow Mines are continuing to backstop this. The Storm, the Marauders, marginally inconvenienced. The Zealots slice through more. ByuN has rebuilt that worker count, and now he's about even. Astrea still struggling. Void Ray on the way? Okay. He's gonna try the Void Rays. It feels like an odd timing. Widowmine almost takes out the Prism. 2 HP, but he gets his shields back from the overcharge. Astrea with a crazy choice, in my opinion. The Void Ray defense. Here we go. He used this to relative success against Clem recently. But this is a very different scenario. That was more of an even money game, but ByuN clearly has the initiative here. He's got the supply, he's got the economy. Void Rays are not really a comeback unit. So we'll see if Astrea is able to make anything happen here. The upgrades are in ByuN's favor as well. It's one mediocre fight away from disaster for Astrea. The Ghost Count, just EMP across the board. Shield battery overcharge, not off cooldown yet. Astrea built the Void Ray and is now just patrolling to potentially snipe the medevac as it comes in for the inevitable drop. Spylon's out there. So Astrea survived, which is the first step to victory, is not being defeated. But still, he doesn't have that big tech transition. ByuN can just continue building more Marines, Marauders, Mines, and Medevacs. And throw some Ghosts in there. Ghosts as well. The Widow Mine. Not the Widowmine. The Templar and the War Prism. EMP'd and dead. And that Bio Ball. Are there any storms? There's one in the very back. Shield battery overcharged, but I don't know if one storm is ever going to be enough. The Widowmines wash across the board. I think the Stargate transition a bit premature as ByuN is absolutely tearing through him here. Well. A rough game for Astrea. Not able to find his footing. Not able to defend early, and ByuN just... He's not going to give you that sort of space. You can't just switch into Void Rays when you're already under so much pressure. I do think he was headed towards the carriers as a late-game option in order to exploit how ByuN rarely goes for the late-game options in a timely manner. But, all right, let's play. Where's ByuN's barracks this time? Winter, he's not going to proxy his racks again. It's a Mako Rax, named after Mako Prime from, like, oh my god, it's like 13 years ago. Who first, because Terrans were filthy proxy Raxers all the time in GSL. But eventually that was figured out, and players would just blindly counter the proxy Rax if they scouted and saw no barracks. So, Maka, who, this is his claim to fame. I don't think he ever had any major results, but it was a big brain move. What if we just built the barracks nearby and then floated it back so we didn't lose too much regular production time and they still freaked out? And that's what ByuN is using here, is he's proxy rexed to some extent. 2 games in a row. Now game 3, he's doing it again, but entirely for the mind games as opposed to getting a Reaper into the base particularly. In fact, the probe dying here, he's gonna... insulting. If that SCV just had stood still for one more moment, ByuN knew it would move. Maybe he moved it himself. That's also possible. But Astrea should know that this was indeed a Mako Rex based on the Reaper showing up and killing his probe at that time. That's a pretty dead giveaway, especially for the probe. Reaper hops in, Reaper hops out. That's why they got the little caution there. We even have to have specific labeling to warn people that Reapers are a threat. Going to be a more conventional opener this time out of Astrea. Ops for the Twilight Council, very likely for Blink, but of course there's a wide array of options. ByuN's like, a Widowmine drop. Thing about the Widowmine drop is, even when it doesn't do well, it still does okay. The only time a Widowmine drop really fails is if the medevac and the mines are taken out before any of them fire or draw any probes away. Even the mining time lost, which is usually something... Oh no, Astrea not looking. The Widowmine only costs 75 minerals and 25 gas, so denying several hundred minerals of mining still pays off relatively, almost immediately actually, as it makes it a lot harder for the Protoss to get to a third base, to follow things up. So the Widowmine drop, a staple of the matchup, and there's no really direct counter. Technically, you can go Stargate to try to take out the medevac, maybe lift the mines. Have to find the medevac. Technically, you can go Blink Robo, which once again, you're faced with the issue of killing the mines before they fire. And that pretty much exhausts the options. You have the probes, if you're a masochist as well, of course. Looks like the medevac was spotted. And 4 stalkers are enough to get ByuN to think twice at least. He's really going to take the most... He's going to hide in the trees. And those stalkers are now pretty anchored at home. They did enough damage that ByuN has to be wary. I believe it'll take about 8 more hits there to take it out. So 4 stalkers should be enough. But a Raven... Is he going to do it? Does he do it? He knows he's been spotted. So ByuN just going to try to keep things busy. Another scouting probe over here. Astrea really trying to keep tabs on everything, and will do so. He's got another spot. He knows everything ByuN is doing. So, ByuN has been, at least, Astrea's always watching. So far, so good. But you gotta be very careful. No third base for Astrea. I believe 4-gate? No, 3-gate blink, but opts for the Warp Prism. Gonna get the Templar Archives. And some extra value here. Ooh, looking to match things in the... Puts the probe out of... He saves the probe. But at what cost? At least one Stalker. And now the mines into the main. Gets the medevac, but both mines drop out. And... Ooh, loses a Stalker. Prairie Dogs, one mine. And gets a Stalker and 3 probes. So... 4 Stalkers for 4 mines and medevac. I think it was still... That was a pretty good example of the... Even when it doesn't go great, it's still pretty good. And now, Astrea is left. No third base. Even worker count. He's got blink Stalkers going... Oh, and auto turrets at the back here. Takes out several of the probes. Probes spending more time running away than mining lately. Another medevac drop. Well, have medevac will drop, as is customary. No third base for either side. Still, both very intent on building up that army supply. But Astrea feels like almost nothing has happened, but he's down 20 supply. There are Stalkers in the... I think he was scared of Storm Drop. I doubt he would be running the SCVs away from the Stalkers. Yeah. ByuN has seen the Templar Archive, so... The possibility was there. Storm not quite done yet, though. Manages to snipe off a medevac. Astrea, a much-needed win there. It was trending in a very tough direction for the American Protoss, and now... Well, it's still trending that way, but he has a lot more opportunity. Thankfully, Storm is done. He's going to target. He hits the pylon. The chrono boost made it look good. Ooh, Marines chasing it down. Get 2 of the Stalkers. Storm, beautiful Storm, will clean up the Marines. And Astrea, unfortunately, a bit supply blocked here. From that one pylon at the Templar Archives. The Warp Prism, oh, well, recalls out the Stalkers. Recalls out 3 out of 4 Stalkers. Gets a couple SCVs. The third base will be scouted by the Observer. But, oh, and the Raven. I don't know if he brought it in with some scouting. The turrets at the back. Beyond just poking and prodding and keeping... Well, I don't know if that's where you want to keep the Archon and Immortal. They're a bit claustrophobic. Even though Archon's got a bit of a slim fast upgrade. Not really upgrade, but can now move through buildings a little more easily, which is a weird thing when buildings are a hard counter. Don't energy shame Archons, okay? Their power is overwhelming, and so is their waistline. Is there enough energy for Storm on at least one of those Templar? Gets one of the medevacs. Widow Mine almost triggered. Astrea down 20 supply. Another drop headed towards the main. No Widow Mines inside. Just Marauders here for now. I believe it was spotted. Astrea sees everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean he can stop it. Is that Raven still at the... Oh, my. Raven's still in the back corner. Plenty of space near the trees on the edges of the map to hang out. But Astrea is holding on. A tenuous hold indeed, but 4th base on the way. I think as time goes on and Astrea is able to get more and more of his unit composition together, he's going to be better off. But it's a great effort so far. It takes out a medevac. We'll lose some of the Stalkers in turn. A scan for observers. Does he spot it? Astrea's observer's in a perfect position. He scanned after loading up the medevacs to drop, which is still an opportunity. You can still work with it. The Raven is taken out before any more auto turrets. Astrea continues to rack up the small victories, but the supply is still telling the big story. 4 medevacs loaded up. There's no vision outside of the main base. He flies right by that zealot. Astrea does not... Well, does he have any Templar in the main? He does not. He's gonna see the drop. He has an opportunity to recall. He has to do it quickly. He will do so. I believe ByuN sees it. So some of the Widow Mines will burrow, but also hit the medevacs, putting them in danger being sniped off by the Stalkers. ByuN picks up and heads to the main, but he leaves with significantly less. And it's moves like that Astrea can exploit to get back into this game. It hasn't slipped away from him yet, but the army supply... I think both players are a little surprised that was a Templar right there, but... the Zealots will path through, which stacks them up beautifully for the mines that were laid there for that exact purpose. Astrea now working on double Colossus. He has +1 on the way. ByuN is just now getting an armory. So the upgrades are still a long way off. But Astrea's unit composition is slowly but surely coming together. He didn't try some crazy Stargate switch this time. He's got another forge on the way. He's got a solid worker count. All the pieces are coming together. He just needs to make sure he needs to keep his economy intact until he's able to get close to maxing out. And that's when he can really start picking fights against ByuN's army, who he's on more conventional units, as he always is. He's got your standard bio plus ghosts, adding in some Vikings, but no ranged liberators. That's most of it. Not too many Vikings. And he's just now getting +2 armor. The Widow Mine's out at the front to deal with any charge slots, but the pylon is already behind here. And ByuN, still just holding at the watchtower. The observer is spotted. So Astrea is still watching even when he doesn't have the tower for it. Thermal lance done for the Colossi. 4 of them. Which is about the number where past 4 Colossi, they become a bit more of a liability, but 4 is enough to grind through even Marauders here. Which ByuN starting to essentially fill in more Marauders than Marines. Ship weapons level 1 on the way. Charge lots over to the right flank. Both players, we're at that kind of Cold War stage where both players have armies that are so dangerous that even in small groups, they don't really want to be fighting each other unless they know they can win. Yeah, adding in Immortals underneath. And those are, the thing about Immortals, the unsung heroes, you can barely tell how many there are to fight because they're usually standing directly under the shadow of the Colossus, which is incredibly dramatic, as Immortals are. But the difference between having 4 and 5 Immortals is ByuN really killing his own siege tanks to build more Vikings, which I guess, okay, fair enough. 4 more command centers on the way. But yeah, the Immortals are a huge amount of damage against those Marauders. So if ByuN gets cut, EMPs, feedback though onto the Ghosts. And this battle is escalating somewhat, but Astrea takes another win. He's able to grind through a bunch of that bio. Astrea replaces it, or ByuN replaces it immediately. Fusion core on the way. 4 more command centers for ByuN. Because of course. 4 Vikings at a time as well. Colossi Storms to start things off. 2-2 about to finish. The upgrades are finishing. They're both maxed out. Now it's time to fight. Colossi, he just doesn't care with the Vikings. Try to target the Vikings with the Stalkers, but down go 2 Colossi almost before the fight starts. ByuN microing back. 3 Colossi down. Number 4 is being targeted, and he's just diving on it. He may... Oh my god. With 1 hit away. Did he just... I thought he just shot his Colossus and said, you know what, I'd rather just have a new one, but scanning for observers, going through the rocks. ByuN still only on 4 bases. Astrea on 5, going on 6 with the gold. EMPs, catches the Colossus, finishes what he started. The Immortals a bit out of position here, but the barriers will help them at least survive some of the attacks. The Widowmines took out a big chunk of the army. More Immortals from the north side. The Bio-Army Vikings hit the deck as well. And 3 Colossi in production simultaneously to deal with this. The Immortal count has been reset, though. The cannons on the high ground try to hold the line. And it will successfully deter ByuN for a little while yet. Astrea, a tough fight there, but he has the economy to rebuild. 3 robos done. And 81 probes. So he's got quite the economy right now. EMP. Don't know if he used shield battery overcharge in that last fight. Widowmines diffused with the Zealots, but close enough. Meanwhile, the Bio-Army is absolutely tearing through everything. The Vikings are knocking down the Colossi, and just like that, the supply evaporates for Astrea. The Vikings knocking down another... Wow. Oh my. I thought we were headed towards a dramatic exchange there. What happened? Well, the army supply was pretty rough in the first place. As we go into the fray, but... yeah, you see the charge lots having a tough time. EMP. Almost none of the charge lots do anything but die to Widowmines and Ghosts. The Viking control so good there. And the angle is just really tough. ByuN, he knew he had the fight. And Astrea dallied a little too long. And that means ByuN just rips through him. Kind of a masterclass in keeping the pressure on there. Astrea unable to repeat that success from game 1. As ByuN just had control of the situation from there on out. But still, a strong showing from the American Protoss. But contending in that early mid-game against ByuN is a tall order. Well, hopefully, I made your day just a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon. But I hear liking and subscribing. Still free for now. Checking out the second channel if you haven't yet for streams, other games you may eventually want to check out, Stormgate, Zero Space, stuff like that. But either way, check out Rango Recommended and our sponsor, Rage. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And good luck, have fun. Stay chill.